Welcome back to Gem Pursuit. Matthew here with you today for a solo episode. If you haven't already, and I can see a lot of people have, but if you haven't, we've actually set up our own Gem Pursuit Instagram. Highlights from the episodes, images of the pieces that we're talking about, loads of the background detail to the episodes as well will be going up there. So it'll just be kind of one place that it all comes together that you can find it. So I would definitely suggest following at Gem Pursuit Pod, and that's on Instagram. There was a huge story in the jewellery world, and one that I was frankly astonished to hear, because historically in the podcast, you won't hear us talking much about heists or different things like, that side of the industry, or for fear of really glamorizing it, or, because people really get hurt in these things, right? But I suppose we did the Murph the Surf episode in January, which was really well received, and the parallels between the Murph the Surf and the Louvre theft at the Apollon Galerie in Paris that happened on Sunday 19th of October. I mean, the parallels are pretty striking. So when I actually saw it, I couldn't quite believe it. And I guess that's why a heist is always so surprising, because you never think it'll happen. It's been called Theft of the Decade. Before we really get into it, I would even say it's possibly way more than that. Some of the pieces that were taken are the definition of priceless. This is going to be a fast-paced, deep dive episode, quick recap of what happened, and then we'll look at the 8 stolen pieces, and we'll have a look at the outlook for them, which is quite difficult for them, but they matter a lot in the world of fine jewellery. So let's get started. So just to give you a bit of background, right? The Louvre, it's well known, of course. If you ever visited Paris, I'm sure it would have been one of the locations on your itinerary to visit. Depending on what time you go, it's always busy, but sometimes it's incredibly busy. So huge complex full of art and history from every single corner of the world. The place that was a victim of this heist at the weekend is the Apollon Gallery, where the French crown jewels and important jewellery is stored. It's certainly, a heist in the Louvre is nothing new, right? It's been a target for centuries for people to rob it. Like 1911, believe it or not, the Mona Lisa was actually stolen from the Louvre by a former employee, Vincenzo Perugia. This one was recovered 2 years later. I mean, the Mona Lisa now, it obviously is considered, one of the most famous paintings of all time. It was still very well known then, but not quite the same folklore that it would have now, I would say. 1998, another painting, Le Chemin de Sèvres by Camille Corot, stolen. That one's still missing. That was 1998. Which, 27 years ago now at this stage, doesn't sound like that long ago. In terms of the jewellery, it was kind of thought that they were fairly secure, because we visited this, and if you listen, we did an episode from the Louvre not so long ago, and if you go back and listen to it, it's one door in and one door out, as I remember. There's not many ways in and out. It's a long rectangular room, and in the middle there's glass cases, and anytime you go by glass or a glass window, I always kind of tap it, because it's how you assess the security grade of the glass. And obviously, we have very high security glass in our business, but this was like incredibly thick, durable, bandit-proof, laminated glass. It's just a real thud when you knock, and it's just like, normally if you just do that to normal glass, you hear a bit of a ping. This is totally different. I would almost guarantee it was bulletproof as well. And obviously the cabinets were very well put together. I love cabinets. I have a lockup just full of cabinets, basically, that we interchange in the shop or we bring to fairs or different things like that. But these are very, very sturdily made cabinets. These pieces are individually displayed, as in, there's a kind of a section within these cabinets for each. Now, there might be 8 or 9 pieces in each cabinet or whatever, but it's very sparse. They're set in there. Now, obviously, there's cameras in the room. So, I walking around there, I thought this is very secure. And it's off the ground floor. It's not even on the ground floor. From someone who worked in the business, I thought this room, dead secure. Yes, there's lots and lots of people. I don't know, you'd fit 300 or 400 people maybe in this room milling around at any one time. And I'd say when it's really busy, I'd say it gets to that. From the Louvre's point of view, this is the first major jewellery robbery that we know of from there. But it wasn't like they had no concerns. The director of the Louvre, Pierre Rosenberg, after the 1998 robbery, He did warn that the system or the security was fragile. I guess I kind of just assumed that at this stage it would have been absolutely bulletproof. I mean, these are just incredible jewels, like some of the most important pieces in the world, literally in the world. So you would have just assumed there was all sorts of, infrared technology, heat technology. I would have assumed the room was literally 24-hour surveillance. Like there was somebody's job just to sit there and look in the room, and maybe there was other elements. But at the moment, like the museum is booming. As I said, when we were there last time, it wasn't too busy, but was still a lot of people. I think staff numbers were being cut. Unions were warning about the destruction of security jobs there. So I mean, it wasn't without warning, but overall, even with understaffing or whatever, you would have thought this would be the one room they really look after. And a security audit had actually been ordered, believe it or not, but the recommendations weren't put in place yet. I think, important to know in the background is also geographically, France, Paris, a couple of hours drive north, you'll be in Belgium. You're not that far from, Germany. You've got the Channel Tunnel there. I mean, once you get into Belgium, the Netherlands is right around the corner. There's Luxembourg. So you're at kind of the crossroads of a lot of places, a lot of countries within a few hours drive. Like there has been a spate of museum robberies in France of late. 2024, the Cognac J Museum and the Iran Museum. In 2025, the Adrien Dubouchet Museum, and even the National Museum of Natural History. Just a month ago, 6 kilos of gold nuggets were stolen. Which, if anyone knows anything about gold price at the moment, I mean, 6 kilos of gold nuggets, which would be pure gold. Gold is an ounce, about $4,000. God, my mental arithmetic has knocked me down here. An ounce of 30 grams. So you multiply it by 10 and by 3, 30 times 120, 140,000 a kilo dollars, maybe something like that. So virtually $1 million, I would say, worth of gold nuggets were taken. So like they would have been on guard. They would have been alert to it. But obviously these security recommendations weren't put in place in time. So the theft. I woke up Sunday morning actually, and someone said to me, "Have you seen this theft in the Louvre?" I thought that maybe they were talking about a historical one or something like that, because something like this was just so improbable. But no, the Galerie d'Apollon, the Gallery of Apollo, the Louvre Museum in Paris, had been broken into around 9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, just 30 minutes after the museum opened. It was a team of 4 thieves disguised as construction workers, yellow and orange high-vis vests, carrying tools. I mean, this is the oldest one in the book. And I guess it kind of works off the basis that, when you're walking around the streets, you see people wearing high-vis jackets or working on different things. You kind of just automatically join the dots and go, oh, sure, they're just fixing the window. Or they're just doing this, or they're just doing that. So it's actually a really clever way, very simple, cost effective. And also, if these thieves were interrupted in the middle of it, sure, they could just say, oh, sure, we're just doing maintenance. Oh, we must have the wrong building. As implausible as that would be, they could say that. They arrived from the Seine side. So the river in Paris is the Seine, and it goes alongside that near the building. And using a montre meuble, or like what we might call an electrical hoist, or a cherry lift, or a cherry picker, or something like that. Yeah, these are the type of things people use to get furniture up to second or third floor building, something like that. But they used this to get up to reach the first floor balcony of the Apollon Gallery, and they used a cutter, like a disc cutter, to cut through the glass window, which did trigger the alarms. Once they were inside, they threatened the guards, the intimidation. And of course, these people must be obviously professionals, dangerous. They smashed 2 display cases and stole 9 pieces. Doesn't sound like a lot, but they're very important pieces. So obviously there were 4 or 5 per case, which again, these cases were probably the size of 2 phone boxes, something like that. They got these pieces out, and as they were escaping, they dropped 1 piece, which was a crown, which we'll get into in a moment, which was recovered. So it was just the 8 pieces that they got. So they got up, they broke the window, threatened the guards, broke the cabinets, and got back out. And there was someone waiting, 2 accomplices on motor scooters, pretty high power ones, I think. And they got away in those. They tried to set fire to the lift basket, but a member of staff stopped them. And in total, so the total heist was 7 minutes or so. I mean, 7 minutes to get through that level of security glass is actually pretty impressive. Obviously, very professional people. The escape, they went down the Seine onto Boulevard Périphérique. And if anyone has ever driven in Paris, they will know that. Ring road around the city. It's like, if you're in Dublin, it's like the M50. And I think in London, is it the M25? Could be wrong on that, but I actually never driven in London before. And then on the A6 autoroute south. From there, hard to say. Typically, things like this, you'll find they changed scooters. They drove the scooters into vans, or anything could have happened from there. So imagine you're at the Louvre at this point. The place is open. You're walking around. You're up early. You're Sunday. You're visiting Paris. Next thing, you're being ushered out of the gallery, rushed out, and there's videos of that online. You can see the whole museum stayed closed until the 22nd of October, and still the Galerie d'Apollon remains completely off limits at time of recording this podcast. So yeah, first major theft in the Louvre in 25 years. Pretty brazen. There was a big heist there in Hatton Garden a few years ago, which was done over a weekend during the Jewish holiday season, which is why the whole place was vacated. They used a drill, like a concrete drill, like one of these ones that looks like a tube, and they drilled out these tubes of concrete at an underground location to get into this vault. Like, quite sophisticated. And this was almost, I think, it was sophisticated in its simplicity. A simple confidence trick in terms of the lift, that no one would really be too alarmed. And then just broke the glass and took the jewelry and got back out. Like, there was no elaborate plan. And I think the from their point of view, the speed and the simplicity is why it worked for them. And it was a classic old method that they used. Now, let's talk about the pieces that were actually got. And there's 8 of them missing at the moment, at the time of recording this podcast. And let's hope they get them back, right? Because jewel thieves in this scenario are probably looking at the stones and the gold. They're not too concerned about the historical importance of these pieces, because that actually makes them difficult to sell. They're so distinctive and they're so well known that, the only way you can sell them is on the black market, which, by the way, definitely exists, I would say, in certain parts of the world for sure. But that's complex. That's risky. You have to transport these goods. You have to transport them safely. I mean, we do shows in the States 3 or 4 times a year, and every time we travel with the secured shipment that we pack carefully, 1 or 2 pieces get damaged en route, right? So, and that's with a lot of practice and timing and preparation. Some of these are very big and fragile, and you'd have to be extremely careful and extremely well trained to actually transport them in one piece. So it's possible that it was just for the stones. And what I would say is that actually years ago when we did another episode, which is well worth a listen to. We talked about the theft of the Irish crown jewels, which my great grandfather was involved in trying to actually get them back. He tried to broker a deal to get them back. It's very likely that they were breaking up for the jewels and the gold at the time. And the risk, as someone who loves antique jewelry and history, is that the same fate awaits these pieces. I just hope it doesn't happen, but it could. But the pieces that were taken, you've got Empress Eugenie's diamond brooch, and we'll go into these in a little bit more detail. We've got the diadem of Empress Eugénie, which is a beautiful natural pearl tiara or diadem. You've got emerald earrings that come from Marie Louise parure, very beautiful, large emeralds, impressive diamonds, like amazing pair of earrings. Then you've got the necklace from the same parure. And this for me was one of the standout pieces. The whole display were there. Incredible necklace. Just the emeralds are electric. It's impressive when you look at it. Like, it's a really impressive looking piece of jewelry. And that one is one of the ones that was gone. You've got sapphire earrings of Queens Marie, Amélie, and Hortense. So beautiful historical earrings, big sapphires again, nice diamonds, really, really incredible looking piece. And a necklace from the same suite. So, obviously these are displayed beside each other. And they got that necklace as well. Big, big sapphires. And again, I'll talk in more detail about these shortly. And then there was the diadem, which is, looks like a tiara or crown from the same collection. So that was like the sapphire suite. So like the emerald suite, the sapphire suite, Empress Eugenie's bow, Empress Eugenie's pearl diadem, and also the reliquary brooch, which is again, that was one of the pieces that stuck with me. I haven't been there. Big piece, big diamonds, really impressive. So like 8 pieces, and you might think, oh, 8 pieces, not too bad, but these were really important pieces. Let's start with the last one there, the reliquary brooch. Hard word to say, actually. Or it's been called the reliquary brooch since at least 1887. And in jewellery, reliquary jewellery usually has somewhere to actually house a relic, which is, historical, piece, either typically religious, but it houses something like could be a piece of wood, it could be a relic of a person, it could be something like that. But there's actually no place to house a relic in this, but even still it's called a reliquary brooch. I mean, some of the diamonds in this are pretty impressive. It's got 94 diamonds, which is obviously a lot, but it's also got a lot of very big ones. In the central part of it, if you look at it, you've got a mirror image of almost like a pendulum heart-shaped stone. They're slightly warmer in terms of they're pinkish. And then below that, you've got, again, mirror images, almost like a bow. And then you've got descending diamonds of really unusual cuts that taper down into briolets. A briolette diamond at the bottom, and these briolets go right up the piece as well. So, I mean, this is just a piece. It's incredible as it is, but those stones in their own right are super valuable. And just as it is, it's going to be super difficult to sell. But those pieces by themselves, if you take them separately, they're transportable. You'll have buyers. So that's one that would almost certainly be considered a breaker. And a breaker is a trade term. And typically it's in shops. Sometimes we'll buy like a big modern brooch or something like that, something that we don't really want to keep, that has no historical value, is not antique, but it's got really good contents of jewellery in it. Like it's got a lot of nice diamonds, or it's got a lot of gold in it, or something like that. And we say a breaker, we mean we buy it to break it, as in we buy it to make other things out of it, or possibly melt some of the gold. So that's the first piece we look at. Now, I'm trying to. I was looking back at photos when we were there, and I believe these cabinets were beside each other. I suppose the question is, were they specifically targeting important jewels, or was it just that that's where they broke in and these were the closest cabinets? And, if you look at it, they got 9 pieces, and between taking the pieces and getting out the window, they dropped one. So even going to the other end of the corridor presented more risk. Anything in there is going to be valuable. But there were other really big pieces there. There was a Regent diamond. There was a very big pink stone that wasn't taken. So I would say, in a way, possibly security got there at a point that they just had to go with what they got, and they were probably going to target other ones depending on the situation. But I mean, no matter what you got in there, it was going to be really good. But I would say they were hoping if they had more time, they would have got some of the other big diamonds, big diamonds that were in some of the other cases. I suppose we look at the sapphire suite next, going back the way again, because these are all a suite. They've got some cabochon and some polished, faceted sapphires as well, but also a lot of diamonds. I think, again, with this one, the historical importance of these pieces as they are is just immense. And they were all displayed together, which is why they obviously got taken together. Those 4 pieces were in one case. It was the diadem was at the back of the case. Then you've got the necklace at the front and the earrings on either side. So I can see why they would have been grabbed. That's your first case that was gone. But these were a set of jewellery worn by Queen Marie Amélie and Queen Hortense, and extremely important piece. They feature 24 Ceylon sapphires and 1,083 diamonds. They can be detached, transformed, worn as brooches. So like they're a convertible piece of jewellery, which is what you would expect from jewellery of this time period. And while the origins of the suite, they're not actually known, it's thought that it was once belonged to Queen Marie Antoinette. Though it does have no hallmark, so that's why it's difficult to date it, and also could have been remade as well. And that happened with crown jewels at times. So, but they stayed with the Orleans family until 1985, and then it was acquired by the Louvre. So, I mean, looking at this piece, what you'd have to say is you've got 24 really important Ceylon sapphires, independently of their own right, very valuable, over 1,000 diamonds of varying sizes. I mean, there's no enormous diamonds like they are in the reliquary brooch, but they're still in quantity and probably very good quality. But it's the sapphires in that one which would be really where the money is if you don't obviously keep them as a piece, which we're hoping, which I'm desperately hoping they get recovered, because when we went, like, it was such a pleasure to actually go and see these pieces, and it'd just be tragic to think that future generations wouldn't be able to see them. And moving back into the emeralds that were taken, this was an emerald necklace and earrings that was gifted by Napoleon to Marie Louise. So this was on actually I'm just looking at the three-dimensional photo here of this cabinet. You had the sapphires on one side, and then you had these emeralds were on the other side of this cabinet. So a wedding gift, as I said, from Napoleon to his second wife, Marie Louise of Austria, in 1810. This set, it's we do know the jeweler, actually, for this one was Francois Renaud Nito, which Nito was how he was really known, very well-known French jeweler at that time. It's got 32 emeralds, 1,138 diamonds. Again, probably like the sapphires, it's the emeralds that really give it the value. You know, you have big emerald cut ones, naturally, pear-shaped ones, and, you know, it's all surrounded diamonds. The emeralds are all amazing color, and it's a beautiful, this is one that just on would look incredible, I'd say. It actually has a big emerald pendant at the back where the fastening is as well. So once you actually, it's like a circular necklace that goes the whole way around your neck with emerald pendulum or pear-shaped hanging from it at intervals. And you've got, I mean, you've got there 10 of them in total. So, and it goes the whole way around. Absolutely incredible. In 1953, Van Cleef & Arpels actually purchased this set, and the emeralds of the tiara were sold, and they were later replaced with turquoise stones by an American collector. The altar tiara, the one that was changed, is now part of the Smithsonian collection, but the necklace and the earrings were preserved in their original form and sold to the Louvre in 2004, reportedly for 4.3 million. But I mean, 2004 is a long time ago in jewellery terms. These really good emeralds, the historical, this would have skyrocketed in price since then. And then you've got Empress Eugenie's pieces, the natural pearl diadem, and then the brooch. The scale of the bow brooch is what strikes, I would say, me the most. It's quite long, like extremely long. It had a fitted box, although I don't remember when we were there if it was in its fitted box. But it's got 4,000 stones. No giant ones like the reliquary brooch. So, I mean, probably more the value in this is as its current state. Whereas you break this down, yes, of course, it's worth a lot, but it's not going to be worth anything like what it was. History of this piece, 1887, the brooch was purchased for 42,200 francs, according to Christie's. The Louvre bought it in 2008, reportedly for about $10 million. So again, not that long ago, but I'm sure its value would have increased dramatically since then. And then, of course, you got the pearl diadem. Natural pearls, extremely valuable, certainly in certain parts of the world. Not a huge diamond content. I mean, sorry, there's over almost 2,000 diamonds, 1,998, but quite much smaller ones. And it's got 212 natural pearls. And it was made in 1853. So, I mean, this one really, it's the pearls that you'd be looking at. And, of course, the one they got back was Eugenie's crown, which, thankfully, this one probably had a bit of gold in it. So I'm sure, that would have been an attractive proposition. But thankfully, this one has been, was dropped, as I mentioned, as the thieves tried to escape. So, like, some great pieces. But, just thinking myself now, what? These are such historical pieces, and some of them do have incredible stones in it. You've got the sapphires, you've got the emeralds, you've got the big diamonds in the reliquary brooch. Okay, and sorry, the pearls in Empress Eugenie's diadem. But I mean, a lot of them are relatively smaller stones, and especially in Eugenie's pieces, they're not going to command vast sums of money, which maybe might save them. Like, it's going to go one of two ways. Essentially, the two options for someone in this scenario is keep them as is, and maybe find some, billionaire who's happy to purchase these pieces offline, so to speak. But I mean, transportation, the whole world is going to be looking for these pieces. It's going to be so hard to transport them. Of course, there's ways, I'm sure, but it's high risk, possibly high reward. But the other way is, unfortunately break them up. And then you've got a lot of stones, which are much, much easier to transport, still worth a lot. And then it's less risky. Now, granted, you'll have to do more sales. So, look, it's just such a shame. But I would say they're the two options. And it could be a combination of both, I would say. Transporting these is going to be really risky, even dangerous, even if you were legally transporting them, because they can be fragile in transport, and you risk getting them broken. So if I had to pin my flag to a mast and say what I think is going to happen with them, I think I'd be very worried about the reliquary brooch and the big sapphires and the emeralds. The other two, possibly, as is, you might get away with them. But let's hope I'm wrong. I'm just waiting to see a news article saying they recovered them. But typically in these situations, the jewels are never found as is, but it's not impossible. And overall, I'd say, regardless of what happens, like the value here, I'm seeing numbers in different articles, like there's 88 million euros, there's $150 million. It's a big number no matter what. But like the loss to France's historical heritage is way more than the financial loss. And actually, perhaps the best way that they could get them back is try and buy them back themselves. Do some sort of a deal there. I mean, they're a huge draw in the Louvre anyway, so they will, they'll actually make money back on it. Yes, if you try and negotiate with the people and get them back, you could incentivize more heist, but at the same time, get them back, upgrade your security, and close that door. Jewellery security at museums is going to change dramatically. The stories that the French are engaging all sorts of ex-jewellery thieves. There are people in the underworld to try and recover them, trying absolutely everything to get them back. But it's just such a loss historically, such a loss, financially. But it's just, for me, it's just a shame that there's so few pieces like that are so important and have such great diamonds and such great jewellery that survive this long. It would be an absolute tragedy if these got broken up. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed this one, make sure you follow us on our new Instagram page at Gem Pursuit Pod. You'll get updates and extra treasures along the way there. And if you're there and you want to leave us a comment or shoot us a DM or even email us on experts@courtville.ie, we would love to hear from you. This episode is produced by Ross Hannon of Tape Deck. From me, your host, Matthew Weldon, until the next time, all the very best.